This Chat with the Experts is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. We're here today with Terry Illy of LD Smith Plumbing. We're talking about all kinds of plumbing issues that arise in the home, and we're going to get back with Terry here in just a moment and ask him your listener questions. First, though, we want to take a look at what's trending. Theron Young, who's the owner of Legacy Plumbing in Frisco, Texas, recently wrote an article for our experts program at Angie's List titled Water Conservation Tips for Every Household. And the idea here is that all of us can find areas in our lives where we're letting water go to waste in our home, which over time can, of course, have some major effects on the environment. And first, when it comes to the sink, Young advises filling a jug or pitcher of water for drinking and placing it in your refrigerator. The idea here is that that's going to avoid wasting water each time you turn on the faucet and wait for the water to turn cold. You can also purchase a low-flow faucet aerator for most home improvement stores. It's easy to install and can cut water usage by up to a couple gallons for every minute that the faucet is in use. Water-saving dishwashers can cut water usage by as much as 25%. But no matter what dishwasher you own, Young advises waiting until you have a full load to run the dishwasher. The same goes for doing laundry. Nearly 22% of indoor water use comes from doing laundry, according to National Geographic. So washing a full load, of course, can help limit the amount of water that's going to waste there. In the bathroom, low-flow shower heads and high-efficiency toilets are options that can help limit the amount of water used. But also consider simple things like turning off the water while you're brushing your teeth. There's really no shortage of ways that you can conserve water around the home. And if you'd like to read Theron's full article on the subject, you can do so by going to angieslist.com/articles, where you'll also find a plethora of other plumbing-related articles and helpful content. All right. Now it's time for that special part of the show where we field your listener questions and get you some answers from our guest. It's called Consumers Ask, and we took our questions, as always, from Facebook, Twitter, and our online Angie's List Answers forum. Today we're going to turn to our expert in studio, Terry Illy, to help these folks out. Terry, are you ready?
I'm ready. Give it a go.
All right. Let's get started with a question from Jackson. He wants to know if he should be running water while using his garbage disposal.
The answer to that is yes, definitely. And in fact, you want to let it run after you've shut the disposal off, at least for another 15 seconds or so that you can rinse what you've just chopped up back down that drain a little further.
Yeah.
So definitely yes.
Big part of it. On a related note, we've got Stina asking, she says there's a smell coming from her garbage disposal. What is it and what can she do?
That could just be a simple buildup in there, and she could put a little cleaner in there, something with a citrus flavor or odor to it. But it also could mean that the blades aren't cutting as well and some food's being left behind, and she may need a new disposal at that point. If you're getting an odor like that, the other thing I got to say is some models, the splash guard, the little black splash guard is removable, and you will get a buildup underneath that.
Oh, okay.
And in some models, you can remove that, clean it, and put it back in, and that can eliminate the odor.
Yeah, very good. Marcus has a question about noisy clanging pipes in his home. What on earth is going on there?
That is the biggest, one of the biggest aggravations as a plumber, is because that's a hard one to chase down. That could be caused by a lot of things. It could have been there from the day the home was built, and it just progressively gets worse. It could be a loose strap. It could be water hammer caused by a new fixture you installed that maybe shuts off a little quicker. Maybe a new dishwasher or washing machine with a solenoid valve. That's definitely something you're going to probably want to have a plumber do a little investigation on, because it could really have so many variables. It could be a toilet fill valve that's causing that.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a little sleuthing around the house to find it.
Yeah, it can be a mystery, and if you're living in the home, obviously it's frustrating. You as the plumber coming in, as you go about trying to solve that mystery, is that a fun job for you, or does it get frustrating at a certain point?
It's fun only when I find the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's gratifying at the time.
Yeah.
But I've had some times where we know what the problem is, we kind of know where it's at, but short of ripping out walls to get to the pipe, we try other methods to eliminate that knocking, and sometimes it works, sometimes it's futile.
Yeah. Austin is considering a tankless water heater for his home. He wants to know if it can be installed in the same location as his current water heater. What are your thoughts on that?
Most of the time when we install them, that's where we install them, because if he's going from a gas water heater to a gas tankless water heater, then the gas, the water, everything's already in that location. So ideally, you want to install it in that location. Again, every home is going to be a little different when it comes to a tankless water heater as far as the venting is concerned. That's usually your biggest hang up or factor when it comes to variables in price. But typically, we're going to put it right where that water heater was.
And we may have addressed this last summer when you were here, but there's also the option of an electric tankless water heater. Is that a completely different situation at that point?
That is different, and typically you don't see it here this far north. You know, our incoming water temperature can be as low as 50 degrees, and an electric tankless water heater has to work really hard to get that water up to 120 degrees. They typically are not very efficient in the more farther north you go.
Sure.
If you live in Key West, it might be a little different story.
Yeah. Kendra wants to know how she can ensure the right size of water heater for her home.
Sure. Again, consult your plumber. Number of bathrooms is not necessarily indicator of what size water heater you have. You could be a one bath home, but you could have a lot of people living in there.
Yeah.
It also, as of April of this year, the water heater standards have changed. So there are some models or sizes of water heaters that are no longer allowed to be manufactured, especially on the electric side. So an 80-gallon electric, no longer available. A 65-gallon electric, no longer available. So there are some limiting factors when it comes to size. But you definitely want to take into consideration a little bit of a combination of the number of people in the home and the number of bathrooms.
Yeah.
Because those two things combined are going to determine what size you need.
Yeah. How involved is the homeowner during that process if you're coming in to install a new water heater? Obviously, if you're switching to a tankless, there's a lot of things to discuss there, but just a general tank water heater replacement, is that something that you have a lot of questions you need to ask the homeowner, or are they just saying, hey, just replace it with a similar one?
Typically, I don't find that the water heater is undersized for the home. Usually, the water heater that's there is the right size for that home. Now, there are times where I'll think, wow, this is a little too big for the home. You know,
Sure.
They really need it, but maybe they just wanted more capacity. Or I do, on occasion, come into a situation where the water heater that is there existing is definitely too small for the home. And again, it may be a factor that it's tucked into a little closet, and that's as big as they could fit.
Yeah.
Or it could be a matter of just somebody in the past just getting what they could to get them by for now. So, but most of the time it's the right size, and when you're swapping a tank for a tank, the homeowner just usually just says, there it is, and we just take care of it.
Yeah.
So.
We've got a question from Ben involving repairing and replacing broken pipes in the home. Of course, this is kind of a bigger problem when winter comes. What happens at that point?
Well, that's not a very common thing to happen, but again, in the wintertime, we do get the frozen pipe issues, and the last couple of winters have been pretty harsh as far as freezing. The first thing you want to do when you discover that, obviously, is try to find your water shutoff. I know that can be a little tough for some people, but I will say, as a plumber, that's one of the things you should know in your home.
Yeah,
is you should know where your water shutoff is.
Yep.
If it's inaccessible, if it's in a crawl space, someplace you can't get to, then maybe you need to hire a plumber to make it accessible.
Sure.
And not only make it accessible, but make it a valve that's easy to use and understand. But know where your water shutoff is. Shut the water off. That'll mitigate the damage. And then obviously at that point, you're going to probably want to call your plumber before you call your insurance guy.
Yeah, and the thing about the water shutoff, I think, is that a lot of people, I don't need to know that. But when the pipe breaks and you hear the water rushing, you're really going to want to know where that is, and it's going to cut down on a lot of cost and a lot of damage. Exactly,
and you may panic a little, but if you know where that valve is, it's a good valve. Make sure it works. And that it's not going to be bound up when you need it, because that's the biggest thing. If a pipe breaks in your home, you can mitigate a lot of damage. Get to the valve, shut it off, and then call your plumber.
All right, that's all of our listener questions for the week. Thank you to all of our listeners out there for submitting your questions. If you got one you'd like answered, find us on Facebook and Twitter and ask it there, or visit our online forum at answers.angieslist.com. Terry, I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show. We really appreciate your advice, and hopefully you've saved at least me. I know I can solve my drain problem now, so thank you.
I'm glad I could do that. Glad to be here.
All right, that's Terry Illy, but we're not done yet. When we come back, we're going to chat with Angie's List senior editor Hugh Vandeveer. We're going to talk about what's happening in the Angie's List Indianapolis magazine. Stay right here. It's Chat with the Experts.
Angie's List believes that hiring great local service providers should be easy. Whether you need a plumber or a pet sitter, you can find one at angieslist.com. See ratings and reviews in hundreds of categories, shop popular offers, and request scheduling assistance directly online. Memberships start at just $9.99 per year. That's less than $1 a month. Join today and get 40% off with promo code WIBC40. Visit angieslist.com to sign up.